Norfolk and West is 611.
There she comes. If you would step back from the edge, thank you very much. Bueno, no sé, si quieren...
Rush hour.
Oh, yeah.
Doesn't look like more than rush hour.
Did you hear those train whistles out there? That's the sound of history and the call of heritage. It also means our journey to Paradise, Pennsylvania is about to begin. And rest assured, everyone here is in for something special today. As our welcome guests, all you need to do is sit back, enjoy the view, and make a few memories with us along the way. Thank you for joining us. The Strasbourg Railroad. What you see around you, ladies and gentlemen, is not just for show. Right now, you're passing through a working rail yard. These tracks help us transport lumber, grain, steel, and biofuels to regional businesses. But there was a time when you didn't hear our steam whistle at all. By 1957, our rails and equipment were in pretty bad shape. And with no one to manage operations, it looked like our story was about to end. Our rescue would come a year later, when 24 dedicated railroad buffs decided to put down their own money, time, and labor to save this short line from abandonment. Every nickel of profit was put back into the railroad. Steam railroading has become a specialty here at Strasbourg. Our mechanical shop, located to your running right, is nationally recognized for their expertise in steam locomotive repair and restoration. And we're proud to say that has benefited heritage railroads and museums all over the country. But we're most proud to have that talent used right here, where we rekindle a love of old-time railroading.
You're about to embark on a passage that has been shared by more than 8 generations of travelers. This is one of the oldest railroad rights-of-way in the entire world, and it's located right here in the heart of Lancaster County. It all began in 1832 when the Pennsylvania legislature chartered the Strasburg Railroad. allowing the construction of this 4.5 miles of track that we call a short line. That, ladies and gentlemen, is what allowed this piece of Pennsylvania Dutch country to connect with the mighty Philadelphia and Columbia Railroad. That locomotive up front will burn up to a half-ton of coal in this round trip, all hand-shoveled by our firemen into a 2,000-degree firebox. It's exactly that kind of hard work and backbone that's helped this railroad survive more than a few hard turns. We've weathered many storms in our time, but we've come a long way, and we're happy to share that legacy with you today. Oh, in case you're wondering about the speed of our trains, the oldest timetable we've ever found for our short line was in the Strasburg newspaper dated August of 1852. We still follow that same basic schedule today, so I can tell you that we're traveling at a comfortable speed that's under 60 miles per hour. Way under 60 miles per hour. Preparing one of our steam engines for their daily service is not as simple as turning the ignition key. A coal locomotive can take up to 6 hours to fire up properly. This is done by gradually raising the temperature inside the firebox to increase steam pressure in the boiler. It's a process known as hustling. Our staff will also provide a full inspection of the locomotive, lubricate a multitude of moving parts, and ensure the tender is filled with enough coal and water for the daily journey.
believe in ghosts? I can tell you that I sure do. You see, many years ago, in the valley to your running right, there used to be a narrow gauge railroad, the Lancaster, Oxford, and Southern. We used to call her Little Old and Slow. The railroad was abandoned in 1918, and the scrappers took up the rail so quickly that they stranded old number 6 out on the line with no way to get back. Sometimes when we blow our whistle for Carpenter's Crossing, the ghost of old number 6 will answer us back. Now, listen closely. Maybe she'll answer us today. Did someone say echo? Why, we pay that ghost $27.50 a day just to do that for us. That makes her the highest paid employee on our railroad. Nobody ever seen that ghost, but somebody keeps cashing those paychecks.
Visitors aside, at the top of the hill to your running left is Carpenter's Graveyard, one of Lancaster County's oldest cemeteries. Behind those gates is where one of our first settlers was laid to rest, an 18th century French Huguenot named Marie Farid. After fleeing their native France to avoid religious persecution, Marie and a small group of followers were given an audience by Queen Anne, thanks to an English philosopher, Quaker, and lifetime advocate of religious freedom, William Penn. They were granted 2.5 square miles of land and arrived here in 1712, and the name they gave their new home was Paradise.
Friends, right now we're approaching Strasburg's one and only bridge, the Pumpkinville Turnpike Bridge. If you don't mind, we'll ask you to lift up your feet. It takes the much-needed weight off these cars as we cross. This bridge replaced an older one to accommodate the stream of incoming freight traffic. Actually, the real reason the bridge was replaced was due to the Amish farmer's complaints about his mules scraping their sides and hitting their heads. The bridge is now more than 6 mules wide and high enough that the mules no longer need to wear safety helmets.
approaching Lemon Place. It's where the short line of Strasburg meets the main line of Amtrak. Back in its heyday, this was the mighty Pennsylvania Railroad. We established the connection here with the completion of our own railroad in 1851. Our track will begin to curve sharply to the left as we come alongside Amtrak's Keystone Corridor from Philadelphia to Pittsburgh. This was the original route of the Philadelphia and Columbia Railroad, which became part of the Pennsylvania Railroad in 1857. Where the white buildings stand today once stood Henry Lennon's Hotel. Believe it or not, in the earliest days of railroading, railroad cars and carriages were pulled by horses. Henry Lennon would supply fresh horses for the trains and refreshments for passengers. The interchange track on the running right is used to deliver freight cars off the main line into our East Strasburg yard, where shipments are offloaded to trucks for local delivery. The most famous delivery to come through Lemon Place arrived on February 22nd, 1861, when President-elect Abraham Lincoln made a short stop in Lancaster County on the way to his Washington inauguration. Thousands gathered around these tracks just to see a glimpse of Mr. Lincoln, who stepped out, faced the crowd, and said,
I've come to see you and let you see me. I believe I have the better of the bargain.
The crowd was equally enthusiastic to see Mary Todd Lincoln. When she stepped out and stood beside her much taller husband, Lincoln eloquently quipped,
Now you can see the long and short of it.
Sadly, in 1865, another train would pass through Lemon Place, but in the opposite direction. This one carrying signals up to the engine crew at the head end of the train. This procedure is required by federal law.
Welcome to Paradise, folks. Change here for Coatesville, Downingtown, Parkersburg, Paoli, Philadelphia, Trenton, Newark, and New York. But only if you can run fast enough to catch an Amtrak train, that is. Now you may find it a little difficult to believe, folks, but this is Paradise, Pennsylvania. If you're in it, let's face it, it could be as close as some of us will ever get to Paradise. Now the locomotive pulling our train today is old number 611. 611 was built by the Norfolk and Western Railway down in its Roanoke, Virginia shops in 1950. The locomotive weighs 895 tons. The tender carries 22,000 gallons of water, 35 tons of coal. Now on a typical round trip, 611 will use about 2,000 gallons of water and about 1,000 pounds of coal. Now 611's not fired by hand. She does have an automatic stoker. And your engineer and fireman today, your engineer today is Dave. And our fireman today is our lady fireman. Her name is Andrea. She asks that you please wave to Dave and Andrea as they pass by in 611. Makes them very happy. We wouldn't want them to leave us here in Paradise now, would we? Now the locomotive is visiting from the Virginia Museum of Transportation down in Roanoke. It's been here since May. We'll be operating on the Strasburg Railroad on select weekends through October. Now in just a moment, we're going to be bringing 611 right past your windows. So we ask you to please have your cameras ready. It's a great photo opportunity as she passes by. We also want you to make sure that you wave and cheer to Dave and Andrea as they pass by as well. And once we get number 611 passed around and coupled onto the other end of the train, we'll move the party for East Strasbourg.
What? Locomotive? Is it Thomas?
Hey, Kenny. So, what happened? You said 4:55. It's 3:55 now.
I heard the hissing. I said, wait a minute. It's on the...
Oh, yeah.
You hear that?
Almost like a dead hand? Yeah, probably.
That's probably.
Another one?
I hear it. You.
That's a motorcycle.
Oh, yeah.
No, I really thought I heard. I'm like, wait a minute. I heard that too, though, when motorcycle. That always happens. That always happens when you're out in the city.
Wow. Yeah, he was flying.
Yeah.
Well, you got your answer. Nah, I wasn't expecting that one. Get a picture.
That was 665. Yeah, it's 11 minutes late.
Oh, that westbound?
Yeah, that one we just saw.
Yeah, the house was good.
That was 665.
Yeah, he definitely was really late. I was like, oh, yeah. And I know that's when they get the Lancaster, it's not until 4:55, so he was definitely was really late there. You got a little bit. I mean, I was expecting it.
Waiting to move, guys. That's all.
The next eastbound going down is now until 7:40.
Yeah, I haven't even left Pittsburgh. I thought the Keys was going as far as Harrisburg.
Harrisburg. No, the only trains that go...
It's to the Pennsylvania.
Yeah, it's to Pennsylvania that go to Pittsburgh. You train Pittsburgh to New York.
Yeah, that train's already...
Yeah, that train's long gone. Yeah, because we caught them earlier.
Yeah, this train's just to get to Lancaster.
Yeah. Yeah, because that one that passed was real late. I don't know how many minutes. Was it really late?
It just says 11.
Huh?
It just says 11 minutes late.
Oh, okay, that's not too bad. Yeah, because he popped up. And I missed them running them in New York, Houston. Because they don't run them in New York on the weekend.
Look at this, look at that.
You know, they run 2 trains on the week.
Silver sides are everything.
Got it? They got the bus. That's like a DO3, right? Yeah.
The throes of the Great Depression put 15 million people out of work. When jobs dried up in the cities, would-be laborers were on the move. Off these mainline tracks by the Lemon-Place picnic road was an encampment that drifters called the Jungle, or a hobo camp. The ground was their bedstead. They would gather at the camps and hop the freight cars, migrating the countryside to whatever odd jobs they could find. They would all set up booths and use a symbolic code to give direction to the neighborhood. You can still find them today, some 20,000 in the country. It's a hand-to-mouth way of life that's just as risky as the breadline days, especially on the trains. If you're caught, you're not going back to them. That's how are you in Pennsylvania Dutch. There are 21 working farms along this route, many of them owned by Amish families. You wouldn't be surprised if you saw more than one horse-drawn buggy on the way to visit our railroad today. There's about 32,000 Amish people in the eastern half of this region. Their German and Swiss ancestors emigrated to Pennsylvania as early as the 18th century. They devoutly practice a separate life. Pennsylvania Dutch country is the fertile farmland of the plain people. They live in faith and hard work with loaded reliance on modern conveniences. The average Amish farm is about 80 acres in size. They raise dairy cattle and provide produce of corn, wheat, rye, soybean, barley, and famous Lancaster County broadleaf tobacco. Today they stop at farming. There are more than 2,000 Amish-owned businesses in this area, and bring their income from carpentry, painting, plumbing, and masonry. But in the matter of profession, home is the center of all Amish life and events. Even church services, which can have as many as 200 people, are held inside Amish homes. We do get a lot of questions about our peaceful, hardworking neighbors. Believe me, they are integral to the heritage and vitality of our community. Though they live a separate lifestyle, they are very much involved in the local economy and public functions.
stop here to discharge picnickers at the Grove. Now, Strasburg River maintains free of charge the tables, the benches, the barbecues, and pump well water and restroom facilities. All you need to do is supply to take your lunch. Now, you can get off any westbound train, which is this one, and then return on any later train throughout the day. Miss none of the ride. You just don't want to miss the last train of the day. Now we're going to be coming to a stop here to pick up some passengers. We ask that if you're not getting off the train to please remain seated while we board passengers, and then we'll get underway for East Strasbourg. Again, please remain seated unless you're getting off the train here at Ross Grove.
pastures are very important to all of us. Lancaster County maintains one of the best farmland preservation programs in the United States. About 80,000 acres of these farmlands protected. We're proud to our cows. Lancaster Farmland Trust. Your next generation will enjoy these spaces just as we hope you have today.
Central Station, East Strasbourg, is next. As a final reminder about safety, we ask that you please remain seated until the train has come to a complete stop. And the station will take your seat. Now we ask that you leave the train to please watch your step. Leave on the station sign only. We want you to remember the golden rule when crossing railroad tracks, and that is to stop, look, and listen both ways. Locomotive 611 will be passing by on the parking lot side of our train, so please do not attempt to cross the tracks until after 611 has passed safely by. Now finally, please be sure to check the area around where you've been sitting. Make sure you've gathered up all your personal belongings and possessions. We want you to leave nothing behind. Now from all this Strasbourg Railroad, take time to visit the beautiful Pennsylvania Dutch country and all the attractions along the station wall that are available to you. We also want you to have a safe and careful journey wherever your travels may be taking you. And please join us again sometime soon for another journey here on the road to paradise. Remember, the next time you travel, why not take the train? It's a lot safer than your car and a whole lot more fun too. Now Grand Central Station, East Strasbourg, is next.
Folks, this is our last stop for this train, East Strasburg Station. We hope you enjoy this journey on America's oldest short line. Be sure to take some time to talk with our railroad staff. Our conductors, engineers, and redcaps are always happy to share their expertise and answer your questions. And before you leave us today, I'd recommend paying a visit to our gift shops and cafe. On behalf of all of us here at Strasbourg, we thank you for taking the time to visit and share our love of old-time railroading in beautiful Lancaster County.